Sitting on the front porch and I was just dive bombed by a hummingbird. I saw it over there on the flea bane, and then it flew over here into the apple tree. So I hope the little guy comes by again. Anyways, it's just a little before 9 o'clock and it's 70 degrees. Finally a break from the heat. We had some wicked heat for the past couple weeks. And it's overcast today. So it's been nice. I haven't had to come out and water the garden. But you're looking at two rows right there. You're looking at the perennial flower garden. And then my tomatoes, squashes, and onions. And my lawn, it probably could use a mow. Well, I call it lawn. It's green. There's some grass in there. But this is the view from my front steps as I come out the front door. So here we go down the steps. I'm going to try to go nice and slow so I don't fall and I don't drop the phone. And also I don't give you seasickness. Now I live on a dead-end street, but I do get some cars that come by. So going back. And where should we start? Let's start over on this side. I've been trimming back the hazelnuts, so that's what that pile is, but I'm going to trim them back even more. And bleeding heart is still hanging on. They don't usually give a second bloom, but there's some green stuff in there, so it just might. Very peaceful to sit here and swing. And then I've got some phlox blooming over here. The peonies are all done. There's that hazelnut. I need to trim that back. And then I haven't done anything on the side yard too, and this needs a lot of work as well. This is a mighty weedy mess. I have some really big hostas all along the foundation, but I also have a lot of weeds. And then if you look back there, I've got one of those trees of heaven that I've been battling. They keep coming back, and they've sent runners all the way down this bed. So last year what I did around this time is I cut those out and just mowed. But this needs major work here. But that's okay, because there's always something to do in the garden. And what's pretty is the hazelnut and the apple tree makes a really pretty natural arch. And then under the apple tree, I'm very excited because my flying dragon plant is producing fruit for the first time. And there's one. And here's another one. There's a few on here. Here's another one. Look at the size of the claws on this thing. That's why they call it a flying dragon. But supposedly those fruits are going to taste like key lime. And I actually bought this for my daughter when she lived here. She loved key lime pie. Oh, Joey heard me. Look who's coming. So I bought it for her so that I could make her key lime pie with flying dragon fruits. Because supposedly they taste very similar. So, hi Joseph. Good morning, sweetie. Good morning, my baby. So let's continue under this natural arch here. Just don't trip on Joey or any of the fallen apples, because my neighbor did not spray this year, so I will be surprised if I get any good fruit. Might be a couple on there, we'll see. So here we go under this first archway. And then around this corner here, you'll see some of the hazelnuts. It looks like I might get an actual crop on this branch here, so I'm going to not trim this one. Let this one keep going. But most of this back here, I'm going to coppice. And as you see, I started. Down below here, it's my gooseberries. See the gooseberry? So I'm going to trim this way back because that gooseberry is not getting that much sun. And then I've planted some amaranth and some cucumbers and a sunflower. And then here is the black raspberry. I've trimmed this up. It looks like I've got a sunchoke in here too. Looks like that sunchokes. I've been ripping them out. I've got some in a pop. But that's the black raspberry. That's done finished. And then edging out this border, I just have some marigolds planted. See, that's a marigold right there. Now this amaranth will get really tall, taller than the sunflower even. And it'll put on a big plume of red spikes. Now this front bed, this front edging bed, eventually is going to be a food hedge. Alright, but this year I'm letting it just go wild. So I've got a bunch of stuff in here. I've got some phlox, and I've got some of the black raspberry, and some lilies. And those are sunflowers or sunchokes, and I'm not sure which until they bloom. And then over here is some fleabane. That was not planted. That's a natural in Connecticut. So wherever it's come up, I've let it go because it's pretty. And then I've got a bunch of irises over here. And then as you're walking down the street, let me just back up a little bit. As you're walking down the street, you'll see the second natural arch. And that one is formed between the apple trees and some blackberries. Some blackberries that I have planted. So that's what this hedge is going to be, is all natural blackberries. And my little Albanian friend came by yesterday. I saw her walking down the street chomping on a handful of my blackberries. So she has no concept of personal space. I was thinking about writing a little sign, "Thou shalt not steal," in Albanian and putting it out front, see if that stops her. But luckily I have enough blackberries I can share. It's just funny. And then under the apple trees, oh look, I got a pokeweed. Pokeweed. That's a volunteer. I've got a bunch of weeds over here on this side, but underneath is all the daffodil foliage. So all that brown is all daffodil foliage that's done. Because this is a sea of daffodils in the spring. And I have 2 apple trees here. So I have that one and then this one. 2 different kinds of apples. And then under it, where I ripped out a bunch of daffodils, I have phlox. And the scent is heavenly when you come out here, this phlox. And then this tree here, I've been trying to get up to grow through the apple trees, but it died up above. But it's still strong and healthy because look at all the persimmons. So you can see the arch. The blackberry canes climb up into the apple tree. And I've got a bunch of blackberries to come and pick again. They'll go for a while. And then some canes are coming out too. So what I do is I just lean it up on the apple tree. And here we are at the perennial bed. And I've got some yarrow spilling over and some rudbeckia that needs to be deadheaded. And then the irises are all done. And some more of that fleabane. You can see how tall that is. That's almost as tall as that comes to my neck. And they're pretty little flowers. And then this, I'm waiting for it to bloom. I've been waiting for a while now. This is a chocolate sunflower, chocolate cherry sunflower. First year I'm planting those. And then down below here, right there, that is the delphinium I started from seed, which it seems to be struggling this spot. So I don't know, that's a perennial and it didn't bloom yet, so we'll see if it makes it through the winter. But right behind it is my echinacea, and that has established itself very well in this spot. And it's getting bigger and bigger. So I might actually split that come fall and put another clump at the end of the bed, because there seems to not be as much color down there. And then some more yarrow, another sunflower, some garden phlox. Behind there is my gladiolas, but I'll show you that from the other side. Now in Connecticut, you're supposed to dig up the bulbs because they're not supposed to overwinter. Well, I'll tell you, I planted these in the back probably over a decade ago, definitely over a decade ago. And then I just moved some of the bulbs in the front. I've never dug them up and overwintered them. I've always left them in the soil. And they come out later in the summer like now. But they make it through every year. Now here is the starring edition of this front bed. Look at this. These guys. Those are my hibiscus, just for perspective, okay? Here's my hand. That flower is probably as big as my head. And there's a whole bunch more coming. So that I put right in the center of this front bed. A couple steps back so you can see. Okay, there's the front perennial bed. And that's the star of the show right now. That and the echinacea and a little bit of the phlox. But as you see, I have more color on this side than this side. So I've still got to work on this bed. It's only been a couple of years since it's been here, so I'm slowly adding things to it and clearing out the sun chokes that had taken over here. So now you can see some more of the, look at those. Look at those gladiolas. Aren't they beautiful? And that hibiscus, I showed you the flowers here. Look at, there's some here, some here, some here, some here, some here, some here. This is going to be a beauty. It's going to steal all the attention of this bed for the rest of the summer. And again, more lilies. Now, I've deadheaded the lilies, so hopefully I'll start getting some more blooms on those, because those were coming up and they were pretty. Got a lot of yarrow in the end of this bed. Lots of yarrow. And another fleabane. And then around this side, see, now you can see where all the gladiolas kind of flopped over. It rained. It's been raining on and off. It's nice and overcast today, so you won't get any shadows. But I've got some morning glories coming up in here that I've got to rip out because, oh, oops, there's some more gladiolas starting. And here's my lupine that I started from seed. That bloomed already. And then in front of that is vegetables. It's just a little path of grass. And then I've got all different kinds of squashes here. And some cantaloupes. So we'll see what makes it through this. Look at, you can see the big fat leaves and then some little different leaves. So we'll see what comes up. And then I've got my dill. Now my dill comes back every year all by itself. I think that's why they call it dill weed. And I let it go because I like having dill. Especially now my cucumbers are coming in. And then I have a few onions that made it. So these onions here, we'll see if they bulb up. I get a few. And my tomatoes are just starting. I haven't gotten a red one yet, but I've got a bunch of tomatoes on the plants. So I'm hoping to put up some sauce. And a bunch of tomatoes. And then looks like I got a morning glory coming in here too that I've got to get out. Marigold and ageratum and my zinnias. Oh my gosh, look at these zinnias. Look at, there's two different varieties. Look at, this one's red and peach, and this one's hot pink, and then some rudbeckia. This little bed here in the front, there's just some flowers on the end, and it's just breathtaking. And look at the size of this stillweed. The flowers on these are really pretty too. These flower umbrals, all yellow. It's like a firework. Now, if you look down here at the chain link fence, morning glory time has begun. Look at these. Look at them all. They will cover this fence. Some rudbeckia. I think this is some goldenrod. But look at them. They do so much better than the sweet peas. This one's a little color variation here. But they go all the way down the chain link fence. Here's the view from the driveway. My little patch of lawn. And the perennial bed, the vegetable bed, the apple trees. And then I have this front bed that I trimmed out. I trimmed out the pine. Get in there and clean it up a little bit more. But underneath is Pachysandra and Lily of the Valley. And then as you come around, there's irises. And that's a big goldenrod. But look at my hydrangea. Everybody's been talking about their hydrangeas this year. Look at it. They're breathtaking. There's two splint blooms over there I should probably trim off. But it's gorgeous. And then I love how it contrasts with the phlox, with the hot pink. And then my rose is still struggling. That's a big white cabbage rose, but I've had it for so long, probably 30 years. So it might just be tired, just like the yellow one. Might be time to replace some of these roses. And then in the front here, the blue ageratum is just beginning. Oh, the blue ageratum is just beginning. And then some of that is solidago. Those will start pretty soon too. So then I'll have the yellow plumes, the pink blossoms, and the blue blossoms. And then if you look under the apple tree from this direction, you'll see that my petunias are doing really well. Some of them are kind of drooped over from the rain. But those were all started from seed, so I'm very pleased with those guys. And then the butterfly weed is almost done, but the zinnias are just starting. I threw in a bunch of seed in here. And I've got a bunch of weeds starting to. But, you know, like I said, I pulled out all those daffodils because it was just way too many of them. So I've got the phlox, and then in front of the phlox is daffodils. And then in front of that is irises. And then in front of that is columbine. And then this year I have a whole bunch of annuals in here. But the rudbeckia and the butterfly weed should come back from year to year. So that takes you through the front. There's the front door. I still didn't get over and give Danielle her little gooseberry. It's still sitting there. It actually fruited. So I know it'll fruit next year for her too. And if you look close, it looks like I've got a little rudbeckia in there too. So she's going to get a free rudbeckia. And marigolds and zinnias and the little pots. There's my lion. And I put Joey in the house because he did in fact attack my feet. So I'll let him out at the end here. But let's go see what's going on in the back. Now these pots here are just basically compost, but I put a bunch of little yellow primroses, sun drops, in this pot. I had them in a bucket of water and they were dying, so I just threw them in here. So they're perennials, they'll come back. And the morning glories are just really so pretty on this fence. And they'll go for the rest of the summer now into the fall. Look at them. You could see where the sweet peas were. Sweet pea seeds. I wasn't pleased with the sweet peas. They didn't really produce for me. They're kind of disappointing. And then this here, I just looked it up. This is something the birds gave me. This is a porcelain vine. Porcelain berries. So I'm going to let that go. Look at the morning glories. Now, if you look here, there's the white ones. Those are the bindweed. That's also called bindweed, okay? These white morning glories are natural. They come up all over the place. And it's also called bindweed. So they're pretty too, but not as pretty as the purple ones. Not nearly as pretty as the purple ones. But I let a couple patches of those go too. I just don't like when they come up in the vegetable garden. Now this pot here I just did yesterday because I'll show you where I was weeding. I'm going to move all these blackberry bushes. I've got probably like 6 or 7 in this pot that I dug up when I was weeding. So that's what's gonna make that food hedge in the front. Let's see. And the mulberry is done. I trimmed that back a little bit too. And then peach trees I'm slowly potting up. I got a couple more grates for the fire pit because the original grates were no good. And I got that piece of chicken wire on top too. That's when I plant a new bed to keep the birds out of the seed. I just toss down that piece of chicken wire until they start sprouting. And then my wood pile. So I got to do some burning. But it's mostly peach trees in this pot. I've got the garlic chives in this pot. I've got some sunchokes in this pot. I've got that other rose that wasn't making it in front in here with some flowers. And then back there is some horseradish. See, there's the horseradish that I dug up from in front of the shed. And I've got another bucket of it that I pulled up the roots to. I took a couple of steps back here, okay, as you're coming up the driveway. That bench there was on my back porch, and I'm slowly cleaning off that back porch. I'm going to clean that all out, maybe paint it, so that's my next project. So I just put that bench out here yesterday because I need to clean it all off. There's all kinds of cobwebs and spider webs on it. But I wanted to show you, as you come up in the back here, look at this fig tree. It is just covered in figs. Now this is that little stick I showed you that I took from my cousin Mark. Oh, maybe 2 years ago now. And look at how good it's doing. It's growing a little funky. No, it's coming all the way out here. But look at all the figs on it. It's so happy. It's such a happy little fig. So I'm going to let that go, and then maybe I'll take another little cutting and we'll start a second plant. It's too early now, though. You got to wait for those figs to ripen, and boy, are they going to be delicious. Now, in this pot back here, I had some old pomegranate seed. And it doesn't look like I'm getting pomegranates. It looks like I'm getting purslane. So we're going to let that go, and we're going to see what happens. You know, purslane is edible too, so. But it'd be nice if I got a pomegranate. I did actually, when I first bought those seeds a few years ago now, I did get a pomegranate, but it never fruited for me, and then it died after like a year or so. I'm trying again. And in this pot, I've got some zinnias. And this one's growing so tall, I'm going to have to cut that so that it'll branch out. But I think down here in the bottom I've got some daffodil bulbs. So I'm hoping, because this pot looks so pretty, that in the spring the daffodils will come up. And then this is a new addition. This is another hibiscus that my friend Phil's sister Joyce gave me. And it's got pretty pink flowers. It looks like maybe like a more of a mallow. It looks gorgeous. So I have to decide where I'm going to plant that. I haven't planted it yet. It's still in the little pot she gave me. So. Now on the other side of the stairs is this cold frame that I had planted potatoes in. And the potatoes have not flowered. But it looks like they're growing new plants now. So I'm thinking that I need to get in here and dig all those up, because in the meantime, I got a volunteer squash. And I'm not sure what kind of squash that is. It's got a big yellow flower on it, so I'm thinking that maybe I'll just dig up what I got for potatoes and see. Here's one of those peach trees, and then around it I have all kinds of petunias, and they're just starting to flower. See? Oh, let's move that. There you go. Petunias are just starting to flower. And then I also have a little bit of blue ageratum in this pot too. See? Focus. Come on, focus. You can do it. And what's funny too is the arugula volunteers all over the place too. Look in front of this cold frame. That's all arugula. I'm sad to report that goldfish has met his demise, which is why I have all that mosquito larvae on the... Yeah, I have to do something about that. And these were all potted things that I pulled out of the greenhouse when I cleaned that. And the cinder block bed is still doing well. There's some columbine I potted up. And this arugula is all going to seed again. But let me just take a step back here and show you. Look at the passion vine arch. Oh, take another step back here. The passion vine arch has begun. Well, I shouldn't say it's begun. It's been going for a little while now. But look at these flowers. Look at this one's laden, and these smell so heavenly. Look at those. Look at this. They smell so nice. And this little guy is a rogue, so I have to tie that back up in there. Alright, so let's turn the opposite direction of the house now. I'm going to show you. This is the trellis I just made for my cucumbers. And those are hazelnut canes, to which I added the net that the peas flopped over. Alright, so they're just starting to grow up. Look at, they're taking nicely. Look. They're growing up nicely. And I've got some flowers. I harvested a couple cucumbers, an ageratum, and arugula is volunteering in the rocks. All those cucumbers are doing well that I transplanted, and then also ones that I threw some seed. Those all will come up too. And here's another peach tree under which I planted straw flowers, and again it looks like I'm getting, instead of straw flowers, I'm getting purslane. So we'll see about that. But here is another tomato. Now that's my big beefsteak, and they don't look very big. This one looks like it's starting to turn. That's supposed to be a beefsteak. And the lettuce is just about all done. I'm letting some of it go to seed. This is the black-seeded Simpson lettuce. And I threw down here some pepper seed and some other seeds. Looks like I'm getting mostly weeds. And I've got another tomato here, but I also have a Rudbeckia. And this Rudbeckia is so beautifully healthy that I'm letting it go. Little sorrel on the end. Alright, so now the third row, I'm turning around here, is this keyhole bed. And the tomatoes. And some carrots. And the basil, look at the basil has begun. The basil on both sides. So I'm going to harvest some of that. Well, see, these tomatoes look a little bigger. These look like beefsteaks too. You see them? And they're getting that yellowish tinge, and that's what happens right before they start turning red. Now this, next to the fire pit, is a big pile of weeds. And as you know, I live on a 50 by 100 foot postage stamp. And I've run out of places to compost. So those weeds are all sitting on the driveway here. But they'll break down here just as well as anywhere else. So there's that keyhole bed from the other angle. And down below is the chamomile, which we'll see if that starts coming back for the fall. It looks like it's trying over here. I got some weeds down here I gotta pull out too. And a couple of carrots gone to seed. Now this was the garlic bed. And the garlic has all since been harvested this year. So I planted a whole bunch of stuff down here, and we're seeing what's gonna come up. I got a hodgepodge of weeds and seedlings. But if you look really close, you'll see some beets back there starting. And some radishes. There's some turnips and other things. And then back there, those are all black turtle beans. And then I have a sunflower. Now I'm not going to walk back here. But you can see right there is my zucchini. And then under the apple tree is strawberries that need to be weeded. And I also have a lettuce bed under there. And there's the pool. I got a new umbrella. Prickly pear cactuses are done. I got some of those pink catch flies going to seed. There's some more dill. I got a little bit of, there's that dill or fennel. That might be fennel. I have some fennel in these beds too. And then here, this mint is almost as tall as me, and I scalped it. So it's just starting to pop back now. It was really tall and it was starting to flower, so I cut it all back. And they always look sad when you cut them way back like that, especially when they've gotten very leggy. So give it a couple of weeks, and this will be all little green sprouts of mint again. And then here's the bed that I was weeding just recently, pulling some of the blackberries out of to transplant in front for the hedge. So right here on the corner is my thyme. And there's never enough time. And then right behind it is oregano. And I'm letting that oregano go to seed. Now if you brush your hand up against either one of those, they smell delicious. And then I've got some columbine over here. That flowers earlier in the spring. And some lemon balm. Now behind up close to the garage here, the whole back row is lemon balm. So I had to trim all of that out before it goes to seed. And then right in front of it is blackberries. These are thornless blackberries. And I need to get out here with my colander and harvest some more berries. But they were sending out runners and coming out to the front of the bed, so that's why I had potted up that whole pot full to plant in front. And then there's my chives, which took a beating with the rain, and I need to trim back. And then here's my little patch, another patch of basil. So that was another reason why I needed to weed, because the basil was getting buried alive. So you can see all those sticks back there. That's all lemon balm that I cut back. And then the blackberry canes are going willy-nilly all over the place. And I've got a couple of marigolds. In the front, in between the squashes. Now there's a bunch of squashes here too. Oh, there's a little butterfly or something. Gonna fly. Oh, there he goes. So there's some more squashes here. And then a tomato on the end. Blackberry, that cane, look at it, it's going all the way up here. I wish they all did that up against the garage. Instead, they're all flopping over every which way. And I had to keep flopping them back and forth to weed in here, too. So, they're just about done, but I'm thinking I'm going to take them out. And I'm thinking maybe this side bed next year, what I'll do is I'll take out the lemon balm, I'll take out these blackberries, because I've got them all over. So, they don't have to be here, too. And then I'll flip over this whole bed. Maybe I'll make this whole bed potatoes next year. Because I think growing them in the cold frame was not a good idea. They didn't have enough room to grow. And then past the garage, we got the little path up. And then to behind the garage. You can see the couple of chairs and the rain barrel I got there, but that's where the kiwis and the grapes are. Now those grapes look to still have that spot on it. See, look, if you look close. See them? They're turning into raisins. So I think I gotta cut those all back. I don't think the grapes will ever come back. Once they get that black spot, I think they're kaput. But the kiwis are doing really well. Look at the kiwis. Gonna have a nice harvest of those. Lots of kiwis. So I haven't really gotten back here to weed or anything, you know. This is usually where I dumped compost. And then my little fern. This fern comes back every year by itself. And I'm due for making an arrangement. I like using those fern leaves in the arrangements. And then here we go. Here's the start of it. See it? I planted some pumpkins in this patch here. This is where I used to compost stuff. And these are all sugar baby pumpkins. And they're all coming out here, spilling over the lemon balm. Okay, going all the way up the mock orange. Going all the way down where the raspberries are. Okay, there's some flowers on them. Got a little zinnia poking out here. And that's another little hibiscus. I'm probably going to need to move that. And then here's that giant plantain. I says I'm going to let it go to seed. That's a giant plantain. Look at the seeds on this guy. But look at this pumpkin. There's a little critter in there. And he's going all the way down. Look at, he's going down where the raspberries are. And he's growing all the way up here. So I should be able to get some pumpkins off of that. And I gotta get back there because I've got more raspberries in bloom. Can you see? I don't want to climb back there without my colander, but you can see. Look at, see the raspberries? And then here's the pool deck. And up the stairs. And I got my noodles out and my umbrella open, and it's starting to drizzle here in Connecticut. So I think that's going to be it for a garden tour for today. I think I'm going to go make myself another cup of coffee and go sit on the front stoop and watch the rain and look at my flowers and smell the phlox. And I hope you have as an enjoyable of a day. Oh, there's one more thing I want to show you before I go. Let's walk down this back path here. I left my hose out. I haven't had to water in days. But the last time I watered, I left the hose out. Talk about lazy, huh? But these are red noodle beans, beginning. Okay, and then I got a couple tomatoes here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trellis them up. I tie mason lines. Then I trellis them up that way. And I got to clean off this picnic table. I haven't finished that project yet either. sunflowers. But what I wanted to show you is this. I'm turning it this way so you can see. See that new teepee I made? Those are hazelnut branches. And then I added some reeds that I made. And then underneath, I've got a bunch of climbing beans. And I also have some Malabar spinach. See it? Just coming up now. So I might have to take out some of those beans because I really want to get some seed from the Malabar spinach. That was the last of my Malabar spinach seeds. So that's all I wanted to show you. There's a lot more to see in this garden, but... All right, one last thing. Besides that beautiful sunflower with more buds on it. See my stump? Well, see the hole? I grew a zinnia on top of the stump. Pretty amazing. Nature's pretty amazing. All right, well, that's it. The rain's starting to come down now. So I'm going to duck in this way. Give you a quick peek in the greenhouse I straightened out and cleaned. There's the greenhouse. Okay, I got a little more work to do in here. I haven't finished planting it out for the fall. But I got a couple tomatoes in here. And in this corner I have a cucumber. And then in this pot I have basil. But I got it all straightened out. And then my neighbor had this one brick that said Maryland. So I figured that belonged in my greenhouse because I'm Mary. All right, that's it. Love you. Bye-bye.